I wanted to give an update on the Topographic sand table project. For those of you that weren't familiar with what this project was, we were going to have a tray full of sand, and the kids were going to make their hills and valleys with their hands, and then we were going to have a Connect sensor over it. Now, the Connect was going to determine the Z depth of the sands and hills and convert that into a point cloud information where you would have the XYZ coordinates of each of the points. There was a meshing algorithm within the SDK for the Connect that would turn those point clouds into a mesh. It would take 4 point cloud corners and create a square face and then a polygon. And it would have a polygonal surface, which then would be textured with our altitudes. So let me show you what that looked like. So based on the altitude of the sand, it would create a color gradient, and it would look pretty nice. In all of the online demonstrations, the update of this is pretty slow, between 3 and 7 frames per second. One of the goals I had and my project mates had was to increase the speed as much as we could. I believe that the speed limitation of the meshing is inherent to the Connect itself through the SDK software that Windows provides, or that Microsoft provided. There is a paid version of the software for topographic display, and it also is pretty slow. So I think it also relies on that same Microsoft provided software to run the Connect. I was able to get 30 frames per second update, Z-depth update from both the Connect sensors. So I know it can pull in information a lot faster than that and display it as a point cloud at 30 frames per second. As soon as you apply the meshing on top of it, though, it slows down to 3 to 7. So here is what I would like to propose, that we ditch the meshing algorithm and we go with the point cloud, because we know the point cloud is rendering at 30 frames per second. So here's what I'm thinking. That the point clouds will just project down onto the sand, and you get an effect like this, which doesn't look very great. But if we were able to go in and expand the size of the points to fill the gaps between each point, we could get something that's very similar to what we were getting with the meshing, but we would be able to do it at 30 frames per second. So we would have real-time interaction with the sand rather than what we would be getting with the other method, the current method that others are using, which is a very slow update. And if we can expand the gaps to overlap, we'd have a pretty good fidelity display. The sand is not going to reflect all of the projector light. So even if we were going to do the meshing, we weren't going to get a picture perfect overlay anyways. There was going to be some contrast loss. So I think the contrast loss and the combination of the point cloud enlarging, I think those two would just really cancel each other out, and we wouldn't really notice a big difference between the two. This is my theory. The reason why I can't test this theory out is because in order to go further with this project, I would need to dual boot my machine to run Linux. And I'm not really willing to do that with my desktop. None of my laptops have GPUs. There was a computer provided, however, it's locked, and I wasn't really willing to do a Kubuntu or something to kind of override that and install Linux, not on the school's machine. So at this point, with the software portion, I'm going to like to hand it over to the next semester that they could do it at Friday Night Lab. Run with the point cloud idea and see if they can get it running. As far as the hardware and the setup, I have all of the pieces and tools and equipment, everything I need. I'm just waiting on it to cool down now. So it's 106 outside. I'll wait for it to cool down a little bit. I'll put it together. It should take me about 3 hours to put together, 4 or 5 if I want it to look really, really nice. But the mounting, everything's ready to go. So this is the update. Again, passing this to the next semester for the software portion to run with the point clouds and see if we can get the point clouds to enlarge and like this. So rather than projecting it like this, which we can do, find a way to get it to project like this. All right, it shouldn't be too hard. Doing away with the whole meshing algorithm, and I think we'll get the most responsive sand table here in the valley. All right, that's all I had. Thank you very much.